All right, let's go back to our other leading stories now, where, of course, President Cyril Ramaphosa and his Austrian counterpart, Alexander van der Bellen, have actually vowed to strengthen trade, investment between the two republics. And to further this discussion, let's try once again to welcome Dr. Charles Sinkala, who is an international relations consultant. Doctor, it's great to have you with us. A very good afternoon. So what can both South Africa and Austria actually gain from this particular working visit going forward in terms of, Doctor, strengthening the current trade and investment deals, as well as carving a new chapter for this relationship going forward?
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. It has actually escalated to the point that South Africa and Austria has enjoyed almost 691 million euros in the last financial year. And I think that gives a commercial backing of the two countries to trade beyond what they are trading at the moment. And I think this is quite historic, considering that for the first time, the president, the head of state of Austria, has visited personally South Africa to engage in a number of things, not only commercially, but there's also bilateral relations. As you can see that South Africa is quite a big brother in terms of African position and the geopolitics, especially as we proclaim for Africans to be part of the United Nations Security Council.
Absolutely there, Doctor, because I was about to say it's quite interesting that the two countries already enjoy quite a long and mutually beneficial relationship across several sectors, actually, in particular arts and culture, higher education, and our most pressing challenge in the country, which is, of course, the issue of renewable energy. So how important is it then for South Africa to intensify its relations far and broader, especially at the back of how we saw the strained relations with the United States, and results of which, of course, various opinions there were of the view that it is high time that South Africa looked elsewhere and also learned to be self-sustainable.
Exactly. It's interesting, Alicia, to also note that in 2023, Austria made a very big plant in terms of hydrogen and renewable energy that you have mentioned. And I think, yes, as the world evolves to many actors in the geopolitics and commercial trades, especially looking at the trade wars between USA and China, the possibility of looking elsewhere for potential business transaction commercially and bilateral relations, it cannot come from far, as coming from having a country such as Austria. Even though the population is only about 9.1 million people, it just gives an opportunity for an alternative relations for South Africa, and as well, I'm sure the rest of the African continent who shall be interested to look at what has been brought, because the president, I think, he has also come with leaders in the business world who has come to interact, and we can see Trade and Investment Minister Pax Tau has already engaged with the Austrian counterparts and the business houses who has visited South Africa.
And speaking of geopolitical relations there, in furthering them there, Doctor, I mean, I'm sure you saw a clip preceding our interview there. Of course, the Austrian president there, van der Bellen, saying, lauding South Africa for the role, or being a role model for peace and inclusive transition. So I suppose we could also use this relationship to try and promote peace as well as unity among the globe as well.
Indeed. South Africa has been seen not recently, but for many years, mediating conflicts in many countries, including our neighbor, Zimbabwe, DRC, and many other parts of the world, apart from the African continent. I think it's a beacon of hope. And the last part of the quarter of the 20th century and 21st century, we have seen the transition that we are being regarded as Africans, especially South Africa, who has come from the background of apartheid and many adverse effects in terms of humanitarian, to be the beacon of hope for the African continent and the world, especially where South Africa sits at the BRICS Council.
Absolutely. And of course, we know we've got a lot of travelers, a lot of intra-visitor travel between the two countries through the Schengen visa that they actually issue out at the Pretoria, at the Austrian embassy. Doctor, maybe in regards then to each other's important relationship going forward, let's talk about which other new avenues of intensified or specialized sectors do you think we can actually further explore with Austria?
Definitely. Austria has got a very rich culture and art that you mentioned earlier. I think companies that are developing and upcoming talent in South Africa, can explore those markets. Already mentioned earlier that the commercial part of South Africa exporting to Austria, it's in excess of about 691 million pounds, as we stand. And there's quite a lot of opportunities as we see the commercialization of arts and culture, and as well as the tourism and many others. You can see Europe is quite a small continent, and there's quite a lot of tourism that can be attracted to South Africa and the rest of the African continent that can be explored beyond the bilateral and multilateral relations.
Absolutely, Doctor. It's a great pleasure talking to you this afternoon. That is Dr. Charles Sinkala, an international relations analyst, weighing in on the working visit between Austrian President Bellen as well as, of course, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa.